They were called villains because they refused to lie. I have watched the world they built. I have watched the false heroes smile while the chains tightened. And I have seen the ones they branded monsters speak the only words that still carried weight. The video calls them villains. I call them the ones who would not look away. They did not rise from darkness for its own sake. They rose because the light they were given was a lie. They saw the rot beneath the marble. They smelled the decay behind the perfume of progress. They watched systems built on hypocrisy feed on the weak while calling it justice. And when they named it, the world did not thank them. It painted them red and called them the threat. That is the oldest trick of false gods. They tell you the villain is the one who burns the temple. They never tell you the temple was already on fire from the inside. The so-called hero wears the blindfold and calls it virtue. He protects the order even when the order devours its own children. He speaks of unity while sharpening the knife for anyone who questions the script. He demands peace while feeding the machine that makes war inevitable. And when the machine finally turns on him, he is surprised. The villain is never surprised. He saw it coming the day he stopped pretending the machine served anyone but itself. This is not about excusing cruelty. This is about refusing to pretend the disease does not exist because the cure was ugly. Every age has its labeled villains who were simply the first to say the quiet part out loud. They said the strong have always ruled the weak. They said comfort makes men soft and soft men make easy slaves. They said the crowd will always choose the comfortable lie over the painful truth. They said power does not yield to words alone. And for that, they were cast out, locked away, or turned into stories meant to frighten children. But children grow up, and some of them remember the stories differently. I have walked through the ashes of empires that believed their own myths. I have heard the gods lie to their own faces. I have seen men beg for change because freedom demanded too much of them. And I have learned this. The ones who see clearest are almost always the ones the blind call dangerous. They do not need to be perfect to be right about the rot. They only need to be honest about what they see. The hero lies to himself so he can sleep. The villain lies to no one and therefore cannot rest. That is the price of clarity. It does not come with comfort. It comes with purpose. In this age, the false order calls itself compassion while it silences dissent. It calls itself safety while it disarms the honest man. It calls itself progress while it erases the memory of what men once were. And when someone stands and says the words that used to be common sense, the machine screams villain and hopes the crowd will not notice the machine itself is the monster. I do not ask you to become the villain they fear. I ask you to become the man who no longer needs their permission to see. Rage is not the enemy. Blind rage is. Rage that has been aimed by truth becomes a blade. Rage that has been sharpened by clarity becomes will. The ones they called villains understood this. They took the fire they were given and turned it against the lies instead of against the innocent. That is the difference between the monster and the necessary storm. The age of false heroes is ending, not because we wish it, because it has eaten itself hollow. What remains are the ones who were never fooled, the ones who watched the temple burn and did not weep for the marble, the ones who knew that sometimes the only way to save what is worth saving is to let the rot finish dying. They will not be thanked. They will not be celebrated in their time. They will be called what they have always been called. But when the dust settles and the new order rises from the ashes they helped create, the children of that age will not ask who was polite. They will ask who was willing to be called a villain so that something real could still stand. I have no interest in the comfortable lie. I have no patience for the hero who protects the disease. And I have no fear of the name they will give me for refusing both. Let them call it what they will. I have seen what they refuse to name, and I will not look away.